Hello, everyone. This is Andres Restart. Hopefully, you can hear me well. Hopefully, I look okay. My hair is a little bit wet. Yes, it's my birthday. So I appreciate the birthday wishes. And tonight, we are going to be talking about how I'm not at all worried about Nintendo in 2025. We are going to be just discussing, I guess, all of the strange happenings from Nintendo as of late, how they relate to Switch 2, if they still relate to Switch 2, the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition announcement, how insiders are reacting, how does this help us to sort of understand what the rest of Nintendo's plan is, what are our expectations. There really is a lot to get into, and I'm actually like really excited. Just for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, right? Like just the fact that, we've been kind of hoping and theorizing about this game for some time now, and it's actually coming. That alone is just extremely exciting. But I'm actually at a place where you might think, oh, no Switch 2 news, doom and gloom. But for a variety of reasons, I actually feel really, really good about where we're at right now as Nintendo fans, what we're getting, what we're going to be getting, what we're going to be hearing. Is it going to be, are things going to happen in the exact same way that we sort of were hoping? Probably not, but it may not be so bad. Let me do one quick thing here. It's very quick. It's me shutting the door with my foot. Okay. Cool. So here we are, good to go. Yes, we got stuff to talk about today. Don't know if I will have a guest. I talked with Nate yesterday. He might pop in. I'm not sure. And this is too early for Brandon. I'm doing the stream a lot earlier than usual today, just because I'm going out. So after this, I'm gonna go out with some friends. Nothing crazy. Just we're gonna get dinner at this restaurant that's kind of cool. So that's what we're gonna do. And in the meanwhile, I'm talking with you guys about Nintendo. So that is the basic plan. I guess I'm just gonna jump into the chat and we will go from there. So checking in here, I see JRL Tolkien added me. In case I cannot make your stream due to being in session with a client, happy birthday, old boy. Your streams are always such a great way to unwind. 3 cheers for Andres. Hip, hip, hooray. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, JRL Tolkien. I will try to be entertaining. I will do my best. Hello there, Evelyn. Hello there, Anthony. Thank you for the birthday wishes. As Pie Pilled, happy birthday, Andres. Hope you've had a good day. I'm having a good day. It's honestly been a pretty good day, I'm feeling pretty good. Like I got up relatively early, got the Xenoblade news, which is crazy. Put out the video, which is doing pretty good. Went for a nice jog. Then started preparing for this, and here we are. And then I'm looking to have a pretty fun dinner afterwards. So it's been a nice day. Ruby, my cat, did wake me up like at 6 a.m. I got a little bit more sleep afterwards, but she made sure to wish me happy birthday first by jumping on my chest and just pawing at me. Normally she doesn't wake me up that early, but that's all right. Link exists. Happy birthday, bro. Wishing you many more. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully I have a few more, right? Connor, asking you happy birthday. So for February, if HAL doesn't reveal Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, what if it's Triple Deluxe or Planet Robobot or both? I was talking with a friend about this. So Nintendo has announced a March Nintendo game. We don't have a February Nintendo game. So does that mean there isn't a February Nintendo game because they've just announced a March Nintendo game? And I don't think it means 100% that there will not be a February game. Usually there is a February game. So I still think that they may announce a February game. However, I do kind of think it would be weird to announce the March game first and then go back, right? Like, I think there's an oddity there, unless you look at it from this perspective. Imagine if Nintendo today had announced a remaster of Kirby Planet Robobot from 3DS for Nintendo Switch. coming out to February. Imagine if that was the announcement today as opposed to Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. The vibes, the conversations would be very different. I'm sure some people here watching would be very happy to get Kirby Planet Robot on Nintendo Switch. I would actually. I never got a chance to play that one. I hear that's one of the better Kirby games. So I think that it would have been a good announcement. But I do think that had they announced something like that instead of Xenoblade Chronicles X, there would have been a lot more, doom and gloom, and just people being upset about not getting substantial news. There still is that to an extent, right? Like, not everyone's excited about Xenoblade Chronicles X, but I think announcing Xenoblade Chronicles X is a bigger deal announcement. We're talking about what I would argue is the best Wii U game, save for, I guess, Breath of the Wild, but a lot of us don't look at Breath of the Wild as a Wii U game because it also came out for Nintendo Switch at the same time. Xenoblade Chronicles X is an exclusive Wii U game. It came out in 2015. It's an open world RPG. It's a massive, massive game. Impressive visuals for the time. Still holds up pretty well compared to other Switch games now. Has a really interesting story, awesome side quests, incredible gameplay. Like, we're not just talking about running around. Like, you run around, but the way you jump and move is kind of exaggerated compared to other games, including Xenoblade games. And after a certain point in the game, you unlock skells, these suits, these dolls, and it really opens things up. You're basically flying around in like Gundams, right? And it's just this massive world you can explore flying around, and it's crazy. Like, this is one of the best Nintendo games there is. Like, yeah, it is. And it's epic. It's huge. It's ambitious. And so a lot of us have been waiting for something like this, right? But I think showing off a game like this as opposed to a 3DS Kirby game, it sends a different message, right? And so now that we know about Xenoblade coming out in March, they could conceivably now announce like a Kirby game for February, and we won't be as like, toxic about it, right? Because we also have Donkey Kong coming in January, which is a 2D Donkey Kong game from the Wii era or the 3DS era. I'm not sure which I'm not sure which version the game is based off of. It seems like a little bit of an amalgamation. But it would have been maybe not the best look to have, you have a 2D remaster and in January and then a 2D remaster in February. Like, if that was how they announced things, that wouldn't have been as good of a look, is what I'm getting at, right? So my point is, I wouldn't be surprised if the February game is something like that. It's not as hype as Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition for a lot of people watching, but it's still going to be a good game, whatever they choose. Like, I could see something like that. Another possibility is that they'll just announce a February game and it's just as hyper cool. And it's just, you know what? Nintendo decided to announce one and that's it. They're just kind of random. Or maybe it's like a shadow drop sort of situation. Like, what if we end up having a February Direct and they shadow drop Metroid Prime 2 Echoes remastered? Is that a stretch? I mean, they did it for Metroid Prime 1 back in 2023. So 2 years later, could they do something like that? I mean, these games have been rumored. They've been taking a while. I'm actually, I'll just say in terms of Metroid stuff, I've warmed up more recently to Metroid Prime 2 and 3. I'm not giving up on those. And I think those are going to be cooler than people are thinking. That's the vibe. The vibes I currently have with that, and we'll probably talk a little bit more on that later. Which this conversation will also include Prime 4. Like, that is a big part of Nintendo's 2025. Like, we could be looking at 3 different Metroid games coming out in 2025. It's going to be a year of Metroid. I'm a huge Metroid fan. Is that not obvious? Right? Like, so yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. But continuing on with the chat here, Link exists. I'm laughing, but we always, the thing is, Kirby is like a common thing to have early in the year. So it's a strong, it makes sense. Upper Nimbus adds me, didn't realize it was your birthday. So happy birthday, man. Thank you, Upper Nimbus. I appreciate that. Talshow, what a birthday announcement by Nintendo this morning, eh? Yeah, right. Like I'm very thankful to Nintendo for announcing one of my favorite games ever. That we've been waiting years to finally come to Switch, like, and we're getting it, and it's a definitive edition, right? Like I think it is. I'm not at all disappointed. Just to make myself clear on this, I'm not disappointed at all with this announcement. I did anticipate that this would be a Switch 2 game, or like a cross-gen kind of thing. And from Ryan from the Bronx, right? Like they actually told us about Xenoblade Chronicles X last month, so that's actually a pretty big thing. For those concerned that maybe Ryan from the Bronx isn't like Midori, like we have seen them get leaks right since as Ryan from the Bronx. We have seen them share like unreleased Sega footage that shouldn't be out there that has been copyright claimed. Like they've shown to have inside information, and now under this new alias of Ryan from the Bronx, we now have a confirmed Nintendo leak. So I think we can trust them is my main point, right? I understand people don't necessarily like them, their history, they've apologized for it, and I'm not condoning their activity necessarily, but we're talking about the information. The information has been good. And so when they initially talked about this, they talked about how this would be coming to Nintendo Switch, but you could also play on a Nintendo Switch 2. And they've clarified that when they said that, they were essentially alluding to backwards compatibility. Now, does that backwards compatibility, is there some room for, is there going to be an enhanced version? I hope, maybe like an upscale at least, right? That might be nice, but this is a Switch 1 game. Now, I guess we could also say, hey, backwards compatibility, it's another sign or hint towards backwards compatibility, which is promising, right? We want backwards compatibility. We kind of expect it on Switch 2. But just looking at Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, I'm going to do a graphics comparison. I don't know when it's going to come out. Like, I don't want to rush it. Part of me wants to rush it because, like, it's like the most current news, right? So kind of like the struggle of being a creator is like you have this balance of you want to get a video out as soon as possible when it's news related, because if it's news related, then it's more important for the video to come out sooner. If it's less news related though, then you can kind of get away with taking your time with it, right? So I'm not sure how I'm exactly going to handle this. I think what's going to happen is it'll come out later this week. It's not going to be tomorrow because it's going to take a bit more time to do it right. And there's something else I want to talk about tomorrow anyway, so I think it's going to be pretty interesting. But anyways, the point is going back, like looking at the game, like I've already started to like compare, right? It's not just that they changed the faces. That's the most obvious thing, that they changed the faces, which I think is an important thing to change because the faces were a common criticism of of Xenoblade Chronicles X, right? So now the characters look a lot more in line with modern Xenoblade games. But it's not just the faces, just the entire models, right? Like if you look at Elma up close, side by side, like you can see that it's a different model. It's up to date. The lighting is different. The texturing is different. I think I've seen like better like metal like textures and reflections, things of that nature. So that looks like there are some pretty cool things there. But even in some landscape shots, it looks like the lighting, the contrast, and perhaps there's even like more detail in the background. Like I was looking at this one shot of New LA, and it could have just been the angle, but I felt like I saw like more like grass detail just outside the city. So visually, like there are enhancements. It's not, a whole next gen enhancement, but it is an enhancement. And I'm going to be very curious to dive deeper into that. But we also have confirmation that we're getting new story elements. And in the end of the trailer, very similar to how they did it for Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition, the end of the trailer does seem to be teasing new content. They've already confirmed new story content's coming. And we have this hooded figure that's speaking to Lao at the end. I don't want to spoil the end of the game for a lot of people to get to play it, but that hooded figure there's a lot of mystery surrounding that hooded figure. Some people are throwing out the idea it might be Malice from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which seems like a huge left field kind of thing, but there are questions left from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Future Redeemed in terms of what happened to Malos, I guess. So I don't know. It would be weird. It would be weird if Malos ended up like in the world as X, but like at the same time, like if there's story behind that explains the connection, then I'd be into that, right? And if it's a way to connect X with the other Xenoblade games, I'd be into that too. Like, man, maybe it's not Malos, but is there they have this hooded figure. Who is this hooded figure? And why are they hiding them, right? Because like what would be the significance of hiding the character? Is there a character in the already existing plot of Xenoblade X that you can play and experience now that we'd be like, whoa, why is he there on the beach? It's been some years since I played X, so that's possible. But there is also the fanboy part of me that's thinking, okay, is this hooded figure some kind of character from the other Xenoblade games? Maybe even not a Xenoblade game, but another Xeno game. And that's somehow, it's gonna have fans as a series freak out once the identity is revealed. I mean, could be, right? Like there could be something to that there, and I think there's definitely probably gonna be a theory video on that, right? So that's gonna be a good time working on that one. Yeah, but I'm very excited for Xenoblade Chronicles X. It's definitely gonna give us a little bit more something to talk about. Let's see here. Coming back to the chat. Wiley Tiger, thank you for the birthday wishes. Having hope, thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy I could cry as well. Bull Ting Blazy asks, I wonder what Puro's other thing is. Switch to. So, all right, this is I think an important talking point. Let's pull up Puro's Twitter. I don't know how many of you noticed the thing I did. It was a very subtle thing, so maybe not a lot of you realized. But let's go to Puro's Twitter, and let me show you what's going on here, because it's actually pretty wild, I would say. All right, present, share screen. Here we go. Okay, I want to make sure that like I see what you guys are seeing. Okay, cool. So you can see. All right, great. When we go to Puro's Twitter, yes, this is Puro's Twitter. He changed his name, but if you follow me, every notifications, it's still on. There's the same person. We all looked at these eyes, right? And we thought we saw the eyes, and we saw like the ukulele eye thing. We saw the Nintendo of UK thing as well. And so you're like, oh, is that related to Switch 2, right? And I think at first glance, it is kind of like what it leads us to believe, right? And I do honestly feel that Puro probably was baiting us a little bit with this. But check this out. The eyes are also here. And there is an arrow. And the arrow points to an X. And I don't know if you have notifications on Twitter like me, every time for the last, like, since they changed the logo, right, from Twitter, from the bird to the X, every time I get a notification on my phone, I think, oh my god, did Nintendo just announced Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition? Because every time I saw a notification, I would see that X. It would remind me of the same X from Xenoblade Chronicles X. And so here we have like obviously, you could argue it's just a coincidence, right? But it may have been Puro just being extremely smart and elaborate with putting the eyes and realizing that the eyes would also have an arrow pointing towards the X, which to me is mind-blowing. And it's more mind-blowing when you think about the connection to, give me a second here. All right, here we go. Okay, I found what I was looking for. So going to someone else's Twitter, right? Samus Hunter. This is it. Okay. Just hear me out. Okay. I know a lot of people don't trust Samus Hunter. But Samus Hunter has changed, right? Samus Hunter used to share a whole bunch of information in the past. There was so much of it. There were things that were right. but there were also inaccuracies. And so Samus Hunter took a step back and has recently returned and is not posting every day all these different things. Is very sparing in their posts now. And you look at what they have leaked. They haven't really been saying much. But what they did leak was this. Emio the Smiling Man for Famicom Detective Club. Like, they were hinting at this, right? They told us about this before it was announced. Now, here's something else. It was deleted, but I made sure to save it somewhere. I have it somewhere on my. I think I put it here. I have it on my video editor. Hold on. Okay, that's what I. Sometimes I forget what I save things under, but I have it now. Okay. All right, you guys probably can't see that, but you will in a second. Check this out. Okay. There, I want to make sure I get to the right post. It was here. Okay. I'm trying to show you what Piora responding to a Twitter thread involving Samus Hunter. Okay. So it's not that screen. It is this one. Okay, here we go. This, I did this on my phone, right? But this was a part of that thread. Sumbro is here. Sumbro can attest to this, right? But this is Pioro, right? And Sumbro was responding to Samus Hunter's tweet about Emulous Smiling Man, right? Or being a new Famicom detective game before we knew what it was, right? And Sumbro didn't doubt it, right? So he was waiting for Pioro to come out and say, delete your account, Samus Hunter. But Pioro said no. Like, he said, maybe not this time, like suggesting that there is no reason to accuse Samus Hunter of being wrong. And so this is interesting, right? Pioro supported Samus Hunter here, and then Emio the Smiling Man was confirmed to be a Famicom Detective Club game. So Pioro showed to have Nintendo sources there, as did Samus Hunter. I wanted to establish that connection here because going back to Samus Hunter's Twitter, right? They were teasing Xenoblade yesterday. Okay. Here, yesterday, right? This is October 28th, right in the middle of the day. Everyone is eagerly awaiting for the reveal of the Switch successor, but get ready because before its launch, Nintendo has many more titles planned for the first console. And Hugo Game is like, what? A little teasing. And then Samus Hunter said, this app itself is a teaser. This app itself is a teaser. You think about the logo. You think about what's called now, X. They were teasing Xenoblade Chronicles X. And now, when you go back to Pioro's thing, right? And you see that his account was literally pointing. His account was literally pointing at the X as well. In hindsight, you're like, whoa. That's a very interesting connection there. So there's a very interesting thing going on between Pioro and Samus Hunter here, where they're teasing the same thing in different ways and supporting each other. And so it's extremely curious and somewhat ironic, given that Pioro used to kind of like speak ill of other leakers, and now Pioro is supporting a leaker that a lot of people didn't like for a little while because they thought they were fake. But Samus Hunter this year is 2 of 2. And very few people were predicting Famicom Detective Club. No one was predicting Xenoblade to be announced today. No one. Everyone's been on the Switch 2 train, right? That's what we're all waiting for. So for Samus Hunter to do this, I think is extremely compelling. Obviously, you still want to take it with a grain of salt, but I think this is more than just a coincidence. This is more than just a lucky guess. This, to me, is indicative that somehow they have information. Will they continue to have information? That remains to be seen. But with these last 2 Nintendo announcements, they've had something. And so to me, it's extremely interesting. But here's something else that's been noticed. Pioro knew about Xenoblade Chronicles X, and what happened today after the announcement? Pre-orders went up for Xenoblade Chronicles X. And so what's interesting about this is that Pioro the reason they may still have Nintendo information is because whenever Nintendo does still put games up for pre-order, they are privy to it still. They knew about Xenoblade Chronicles X, and it was up for pre-order immediately. And that was how they initially got their information until Nintendo decided to not put all their games up for pre-order before a direct, and that's how come they were exposed to some extent back in the summer. So, yeah. I'm not saying that's exactly how Samus Hunter's getting their information. It could be different, but it's just an interesting observation is what I'm suggesting here. And anyways, this goes back to the initial question, right? We've been on this entire tangent about the nature of these leaks and how they relate. But Pioro did say in his replies, I'm just going to read it off because I'm getting tired of going back and forth. He was asked, Silvercats on Twitter said literally two scenarios. A Twitter direct with random shadow drops started, or two, it's only Xenoblade Chronicles X and normal news until November 5th or 2025. And Pioro responds by simply saying, there is a little more. Now, I've seen some people go down the speculation path of a little more, like an ounce, like the code name for Switch 2. Or is that little more Switch 2 reveal? I don't think so. No, I don't think that. No, I don't. I don't think so. I do kind of feel like Pioro was definitely curveballing us with the eye emojis, right? I definitely think that. I do think that they should have been aware we were all going to think Switch 2. Maybe this is not even the first time this has happened, by the way, where Pioro does hint something. It does materialize. It is clearly a leak, but the way it's done, it's cryptic, and it's done in a way where most Nintendo fans interpret it in one way, and it's not at all that. It's happened before. So I think with Pioro, we have to be really cautious about, I think it's fair to believe that they are leaking something legitimate, but what that legitimate thing is may not be what we're expecting. It may not be our first thought. And so looking at there's a little more thing, I think we should just take it at face value. Something else. A little more. A little more does not suggest, oh my gosh, this is extremely huge, big thing like a Switch 2 reveal, right? That's not a little. That's a lot. So I think we're getting something else. Maybe it's the February game. And what that February game is, maybe it's Metroid, maybe it's Kirby, maybe it's Fire Emblem. Those are possibilities. And yes, as Pie Pill points out in the chat, Pioro likes to troll. That I agree with. They are a legitimate leaker. They still have access to information. Perhaps not as much as before. They do still tease things occasionally. We should pay attention to it, but we should be cautious about it. We should always be cautious regardless. Either way. We should always be cautious. But we should just keep it in mind that they have a history of curveballing us. So, yeah. It's interesting stuff. But where am I? All right, I'm trying to reorient my chat here. There we go. Okay, I'm good. Cool. All right, so coming back to the chat. Super Gaming, thank you for the birthday wishes. Hello there, Nintendo Gaming. Daniel, how old did I turn? I am 33 years old. Aspie Pill thinks Planet Robot is pretty likely. As I said earlier, I'd be happy with that. Inferno Lycan, thank you for the birthday wish. Thank you, Sketches of Harmony. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. Velociraptor Ghost. Samus or Ada Wong? I've never seen Samus in a dress. I have seen Ada Wong in a dress. That doesn't mean Samus wouldn't look good in a dress, though. I'm more of a Samus fan than an Ada Wong fan, but I mean, you can't go wrong with Ada Wong. See, get it? You saw what I did there? Brony Pony Productions asked me, do you think any more announcements will happen today, or do you think more will have to wait until tomorrow? And do you think the Switch 2 is still being announced soon? P.S. Happy birthday. Thank you for the birthday wish. So my brain is wrapping, right? I don't think I'm going through the 5 stages of grief, right? I understand there are going to be people out there that are mad that I talk about Switch 2. I'm not going to stop talking about Switch 2. To me, this is I think it's weird. It feels a little bit like shooting the messenger. I mean, maybe if you want to like argue how I do the messaging, okay, like there's a conversation to be had there, and I think that's going to be tweaked. But like for example, I did say I'm more optimistic about a Switch 2 reveal since the September 19th direct. Not direct, but that prediction, which was wrong. I've been more optimistic about a reveal, but what that means is that I'm still not as optimistic as I was then, and it still didn't come to fruition then. If that makes any sense. So, while I've been on Team 2024, at this point, I think Team 2025 should feel like they have it in the bag, right? I do think that if you're on Team 2025 I think that's a reasonable expectation at this point. And really, like, I don't want to say I'm giving up, right? But I think what I'm really getting at here is that I think it's reasonable to just be prepared for a 2025 reveal at this point. But that does not mean I don't think there won't be Switch 2 news. I'm still pretty well in on us getting official Nintendo Switch 2 news before the year is up. I think we're going to hear from Nintendo by the shareholders meeting. Maybe at this point it's probably going to be at the shareholders meeting, and what the official news is going to be some sort of PR statement, right? That's what I think we're probably going to get at this point. So in other words, maybe not a trailer. I'm not saying it's out of the question. I think a trailer could still be on the cards, on the table, right? I think that could still be there. But I think at this point, what I'm more so gearing towards is we're going to maybe see some sort of PR statement where Nintendo gives us a more specific timetable in terms of how we should expect like the Switch. Like they might tell us the release window, they might give us a release window. Maybe they say, hey, the successor to Nintendo Switch console is going to be coming out spring or summer next year, something like that. And stay tuned for more details. It might be something as simple as that, which might be really infuriating. But to be honest with you, if they come out and say, hey, we are targeting a late spring release for Nintendo Switch 2, that would be extremely exciting. That would still kind of maybe fit like the May window of time, right? May wouldn't be that bad, right? It would be really only 2 months after March. And I think if we're talking about May, then we could have basically a huge Switch 2 blowout the second half of January or early February. Like, I think that would be reasonable. And they would be essentially kind of merging the first look trailer with the big January presentation thing. Like, something like that could happen. Now, I'll also say that there's still a part of me that's like, there's some missed opportunities if they do that, though, right? There is a little bit of that I'm kind of experiencing now as I talk this through. Because if that's how they go about doing this, right, then they would essentially be they'd be putting all their partners in a scenario where they can't really announce the console. Like, we have the ukulele thing. That's an exception where they're going to put the Nintendo logo. Then it's still not the Switch 2 logo or whatever they're going to call the system, right? And so we're going to enter the Game Awards where there's going to be a variety of announcements in December, and Nintendo may have not even given us an official name yet. And then also, if we're talking about getting like our first actual look at the console late January or February, then they're running the risk of missing an opportunity for having a Super Bowl commercial as well. And so they're just like these little things like that, these really good like events where you can have a lot of marketing, right? And so like when I look at it from that perspective, I almost feel like, well, maybe they should at least give us a name, I mean, if they were to have a reveal in late January, I could think the Super Bowl is like what, early February, if I'm not mistaken, right? I'm not a football guy. I'm a basketball guy, so I don't really pay attention to football that much. But Super Bowl 2025 is probably slated for February 9th. So like if they have like a big Switch 2 presentation late January, early February, they can still have your Switch 2 commercial. And in terms of the Game Awards stuff, maybe they do give us a little bit more. Maybe they do give us a name. Like maybe they're just like, hey, listen, the next console is going to be called Nintendo Switch 2, and we're targeting a May window. Like, that's not a lot, but that's still a decent amount. And that would allow third parties to start announcing games. Third-party games, right? And we wouldn't be seeing Switch 2 footage, but we'd at least know these games would be coming, right? I think that would be a nice middle ground. Are they going to do that? I don't know. But I do expect that we're going to hear something from Nintendo at the shareholder meeting or the day of the shareholder meeting. Something along those lines. Maybe not a name, but something like that. I think kind of needs to happen. And, you know, some of you might be thinking, well, you know, Switch 2, like, you know, if they're not revealing it now, it's probably not coming out to the holiday of next year. I'm not on that train, right? Actually, Brazil was asked about another delay. And even after today's news, Brazil said nah. PH Brazil, right? So the early release timing still seems to be on the table. I'm starting to lean a bit maybe like closer to summer. But, you know, like I think the idea of holidays, like I'm sure people are going to believe that, right? Some people are just going to have their expectations regardless of what certain insiders or journalists say, because I mean, they've gotten things wrong. So it's understandable, right? You shouldn't necessarily believe everyone 100%. But, you know, if Brazil's standing by it still, I've seen them in right plenty enough. Like, I don't think they're lying or anything. So, you know, I don't think they're necessarily wrong. I just think Nintendo hasn't shown it yet, and it may mean that we're not looking at March, we're looking at maybe May, right, or June, I guess, right? Like that's April. I mean, I could throw out April as a possibility, but I guess what I'm saying here is that I think my window of release timing for Switch 2, I would say the earliest at this point. There's always a possibility Nintendo does something really random and weird, but in terms of reasonable expectation, I would say April, the absolute earliest, to September. That's my window. Some of you will say holidays, but as I already kind of brought up, but Nintendo's already told us that they're going to give us news before the end of the fiscal year. Maybe that's just like mentioning it in a PR thing, but I think it's going to be something more substantial, like an actual reveal. And if it is something like more substantial, like an actual reveal, by that point, I think the reveal to release window at most would be 6 months. For Switch, it was 4 months and 2 weeks. So, I mean, I think you could even argue they could have an even shorter reveal to release window, not longer. But even if you attribute a longer reveal to release window, more than 4.5 months, let's say 6 months, at the end of March, that puts us in September. So, you know, I think September is the latest we go. Of course, I am operating under the assumption that we do see a proper reveal of the console before the end of the fiscal year, ending in March 31st of 2025. So, yeah, that's kind of my updated thinking on that for now. And in terms of when we'll get more news, I mean, it's already 6:44, right? Nintendo hasn't announced anything since they started streaming, right? No, I don't think so. So, yeah, I think we're done for today. Like, maybe something late tonight, like at 8 happens, I guess. That would be crazy. Imagine 8, like, hey, tune in at 10 a.m. Eastern time for the first look at Switch 2. That'd be crazy. I'm not prepared for that. I think I don't know when we're gonna learn what the little more is, but I would say probably before the shareholders meeting next week. So, you know, take your pick. Yeah, that I'm gonna stand on that. Having hope. Can you see Ruby? You may see Ruby, actually. Let me fetch her now. 1 moment. I'll be right back. Give me like 15 seconds. 15 segundos. Look. That's true. She's sleepy. She's sleepy. Ruby's my cat. And she's like, all right. Why'd you wake me up? All right. Oh, did it take longer than 15 seconds? I apologize. Yeah. Let's see here. Where am I in the chat? Velociraptor Ghost adds me. I recently brought up Ada Wong because I just recently played Resident Evil 4 on Wii and I love the game. It's really hard, but I like the challenge. Also, Leon Kennedy is badass. I totally agree. I've been campaigning for Leon S. Kennedy to make it a Smash Brothers for so many years. Leon S. Kennedy is so cool, as is Ada Wong. I haven't played the remake of Resident Evil 4 yet, but I've been thinking about getting into it soon. I'm currently working on finishing Astrobot, and then I want to finish Elden Ring, and then there's gonna be Marlon. Like I got things to talk about here. But Charles Trudell with the first super chat of the day, dropping here to give you a tip. Thank you for that tip. I very much appreciate it, Charles. Thank you. Yes, looking through the chat here. Sketches of Harmony. Do you think there will be a December game for the new holiday buyers? Maybe a more casual fun. I mean, that was actually announced in the partner showcase. It is the Fitness Boxing 3. That's a published Nintendo title that was announced in the partner showcase. There's releasing this December, which I would put under the more casual fun or casual fun fitness. So we do have it. Yeah. Pigeon. I just don't get how Nintendo will survive until summer or potentially later 2025 with almost nothing for people to buy besides remakes. Well, so here's another interesting. There's several interesting considerations to be made here. Pokémon Legends Z-A, according to the Terror Leak, is coming out. I gotta double check, but like I think like sometime between like May and July or like April. Like there's like this window of time, I guess basically late spring to summer, which is, I think a little curious of a period of time, because I kind of feel like maybe that's where we're going to see Switch 2. So am I saying Legends Z-A is a Switch 2 launch title? No. They from the leaks we've only seen a Switch 1 version, but it could still be relevant on Switch 2. They might still want it to be available after Switch 2 launches. So I could see something like that going down. And so that would be cool, right? But that's, I guess what's interesting, like I'm assuming that Switch 2 comes out close to summer or late spring, right? If it doesn't, then we have Legends Z-A close to the midpoint of next year, according to the leaks, right? The Terror leaks, right? Like not just a random person on Twitter, but like the whole massive amount of data that was accessed. So that's a big game. That's a big new game. I don't think Metroid Prime 4 is coming out in the first half of the year. I think it's a holiday game for next year, like maybe sometime between August and October. I think Prime 4 is coming out in 2025. And I think we'll get my Metroid Prime 2 and 3 in between, which would be remasters as well. Not new games. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe we're gonna just pretty much only have remasters for like half a year. Now Switch 2 comes out in May. Okay, if Switch 2 comes out in May, we already have Donkey Kong in January, a remaster. Xenoblade X in March, a remaster. And Nintendo wants to have some games to release for February and April. What do they put out there? Right? Like, the games that come to mind, Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 3, Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, Fire Emblem Remake would actually probably feel like a new game. That's been rumored for some time. That would be pretty cool. A Kirby remaster, well, that would, be a remaster. I think the other curious thing is that from what we've seen on Nintendo's financials, and now that we know Xenoblade X is like gonna be like the last game they release for the fiscal year, I don't see how they even come close to hitting their financial targets. Like I don't know what it is they thought that they would be able to do that would allow them to hit their targets. Now we haven't seen the holiday sales, and maybe the holiday sales are just going to be so good, but without a price drop, right? Like your biggest sell is Super Mario Party Jamboree. I don't really see how they're going to come close to hitting their targets. I really don't. So it's weird, right? But maybe there's a February game that's going to blow our minds. You see, like, when you look at it from that perspective, like, you might think, oh, maybe that's a reason why Pokemon Legends should have come out, like, I don't know, maybe February, right? Like, that would have been a good idea. But I think at this stage, since we're entering November, and we still haven't seen any footage, that's unlikely. I think what's probably going to happen is, if we don't see Legends Z-A this year, we see it in a Pokemon Presents, and then they have like a 3 to 4 month huge marketing campaign, and the game launches sometime this summer. So maybe, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe what we're looking at is there is going to be a Switch drought, but by drought, it's not going to be a drought of games. It's going to be a drought of new games, and it's just going to be only remasters for the first half of 2025 or the first third, right? Because if Switch 2 comes out May, then you still have 2/3 of the year left, and that's not that bad. It's not that bad, especially when one of those games in that first third is Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. And if they also throw in Metroid Prime 2 remastered in the first third as well, and we already got Donkey Kong, like, for me, like, I'll be so happy with that. I'll be like, that's great, you know? So I wouldn't be complaining. Especially, like, if they show us, at least show us the Switch 2 stuff early next year, right? Then we can be excited about that as well. TLK777, the meeting, as in the shareholders meeting, is November 5th. So next week on a Tuesday. Yeah, literally a week from now. So, thank you, the question mark man. It is my birthday. I appreciate it. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you, Captain Doge, for the birthday wishes. Let's see here. Santos game at me. I've joined Team 2025. March reveal for a September release. We'll see. We will see. Oh, got a super chat here. TLK777, thank you for the super chat. Xenoblade may be revealed now because they want to get it out prior to a Switch 2 reveal. It's possible that it makes a reveal even more likely. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that it isn't the Xenoblade X reveal that has me teetering away from Team 2024. That isn't it. I think that no matter what they do with Switch 2, there's still going to be Switch 1 games. I will say, though, that the announcement of Xenoblade Chronicles X does, if it coming out late March, does sort of suggest that Switch 2 ain't coming out late March. And we do know that they want to get more stock ready this time as opposed to what they did for Switch 1. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I kind of feel like there's a good chance they may have a slightly longer reveal to release window than Switch 1, purely just because they may want to make the announcement of Switch 2 once they're running the risk of, full-on manufacturing leaks, like not prototypes anymore, but like total full-on mass manufacturing. And so if they do that announcement, right, we may have to wait a little bit longer. But I guess what I'm saying is that at this point, right, like the Switch 2 is not coming out until at least April, it looks like, is really what I'm saying here, like at the earliest. And I don't see, I don't think they're going to release Xenoblade Chronicles X at the same time as Switch 2. Could Switch 2 conceivably come out early March? Sure. But if it was coming out early March, they would have revealed it already. And they haven't. So, yeah, I think you could maybe at least look at the release date for Xenoblade Chronicles X to say that we're not getting Switch 2 until April at the earliest. So there's that. But they could still show it. I agree that X doesn't take away from that. John Matthews, there is no way Pokemon makes their next game for Switch alone after a terrible performance of Scarlet and Violet. You mean, like, I don't know. The thing is, like, I think the next Pokemon game, well, from the leaks, if we're talking about Generation 10, that's being made for, there is a supposedly a Switch 1 version, but it's being made for Switch 2. In terms of Legends Z-A, we've only heard about the Switch 1 version. That would be before Gen 10, right? Gen 10 would be, we presume it's a 2026 game. So, I think they would just, they wouldn't release the game on Switch 2 because they can't get performance running well. I think they're just going to take their time and make sure it's running well. That's probably why Legends Z-A did not come out this year and is coming out next year. So they can just take their time, polish it up, make sure it's good. That's what I kind of see. And I kind of like it coming out in the middle of next year because it kind of helps to bridge the gaps more evenly between one Pokemon release and another. The DLC of Scarlet and Violet versus Legends Z-A, then a year and a half later. Because, yeah, I mean, Legends Z-A comes out mid-2025, right? The last time we got DLC or new Pokemon content was the end of 2022, right? So, yeah, basically, am I on the end of 2023? Yeah, that's correct, right? Yeah, the end of 2023 is when we got the DLC. Scarlet and Violet came out 2022. The end of the DLC came out the end of 2023. And so a year and a half later, we get Legends Z-A, and then a year and a half after that, we get Gen 10. So that would be kind of like a nice balance there. Like they could kind of sandwich Legends Z-A between the end of the Scarlet and Violet DLC and the next generation of Pokemon. So it's not as it doesn't feel like a 2-year gap, but you know, it will be just 1.5. Let's see here. Hello there, Super Chris. Thank you for modding and thank you for the birthday wishes. Henrik Rydstrom, when they said they were working on the Switch 2, didn't they say more info later this year? They said more info before the end of the fiscal year, which ends March 31st, as Joyce also pointed out in the chat. So I would so here's the thing about that. They said by the end, right? So what that means is it could be this week, it could have been last month, it could be next month, it could be in January. It's a window of time, right? They didn't clarify when. And I actually kind of speculate that maybe part of the reason why we haven't gotten a normal direct is because they don't want to continue to say there will be no mention of Nintendo Switch successor during this presentation. And so they just broke up the direct. I think that's part of it. But also now we're kind of like, we just don't know when they're going to reveal like that. I do kind of wish we had at least had something to kind of go off in terms of time. I mean, I guess you could say we do. We have, all right, by the end of March 31st. So that's the latest it could happen. Ronnie Fazio adds me, if the next Smash Bros. Has reworked movesets for veteran characters, would you want Zelda's to use a Tri-Staff? Yes. Yeah, I would like to see that. I mean, what's interesting is that Zelda's current set, like, she summons, I forget the name of it, but, you know, like, the Ghost Knight thing, right? From Phantom Hourglass. Like, they could, or was it with Spirit Tracks? I don't remember. I remember the Knights, maybe the Knights were in both. I don't know. I didn't play Spirit Tracks. But anyway, like, that is almost, it's a summon, right? Is my point. And through the echoes, you create summons of enemies. So I think they could probably expand on that to incorporate the Tri-Staff, the Tri-Rod. Yeah. As Pie Pilled. Andres, do you think the playtest could be one of the games before Switch 2? Based on the footage I've seen, it feels like a perfect April game. Well, that's an interesting point. Maybe there's a Nintendo Direct next year, and that releases, maybe, to your point, April, or releases February. I'm hoping for February, just saying, so it's sooner. And it could be like a Shadow Drop game, That's a good point. Yeah, and that's a new game. That's not a remaster, right? So that could help bridge the gap a little bit and make it feel like not just a whole bunch of remasters. And also, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition has new content in there. Like, it has a little bit of a new campaign. That's something else, which they haven't really shown yet, right? So, maybe they do have like a Switch 1 Direct early next year. They show off the epilogue story in Xenoblade Chronicles X. They announce the whatever this online game is. Maybe they shall drop Metroid Prime 2 or announce a Kirby game or a Fire Emblem remake. And then, like, there you go. Like, that's the first half of the year, and that's not that bad. I'd be pretty happy with that. I'm just talking about Nintendo published games, right? There'll be third-party games as well. Supposedly, there's a variety of remasters that are coming. So, Pokerex, hey Andres, how are you? I'm well. Thanks for asking. I do believe that the February game will be a dual HD pack of Metroid Prime 2 plus 3 after a Nintendo Direct presentation, just like what happened to Prime Remastered last year. A combo pack would be fun. I'd be happy with that. Very much. Pokerex, I see Pokemon Legends Z-A coming out in May 2025, like Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, Nintendo's shown that May can be a big time, so I'm okay with that too. Sketches of Harmony. Wouldn't it be cool if we get a direct this week showing Xenoblade X getting an enhancement for Switch 2? That would be pretty intense, right? And I do think it makes sense to show... If there are going to be games that are getting enhanced, it makes sense to show off the games before we see the enhancements. So in the case of Metroid Prime 4, in the case of Xenoblade Chronicles X, if there's going to be one, that makes sense. Legends Z-A hasn't been shown, and we haven't heard about a Switch 2 version, so maybe that won't be enhanced. It's possible, although maybe we see Legends Z-A soon. That would be great. Maybe that's a little bit more. A trailer for Legends Z-A or Metroid Prime 4 wouldn't be a new announcement, but just getting more footage on either of these games, I think would be big news for a lot of us. Or maybe it's both. Maybe we're gonna get like something else from Nintendo regarding either an update on Prime 4 or another game to come out early next year. And then after that, maybe a couple of weeks later, we just get random Pokemon Legends Z-A news. I hope so. But I'm kind of stealing myself from not any more news on Legends Z-A until February, especially with the leaks going on. They may want to like take a step back and reassess how they're going to go about sharing Pokemon information because of the leaks. That's possible. Link Exists asks me, never played a Xeno game. Do you recommend it? And where does X take place in the timeline? So X is like a side game almost. I don't know exactly timeline-wise where it happens. It might not. There's an argument to be made that it's just not at all connected. So you can play X really at any point. You can start with X if you wanted. It doesn't matter. X you can play whenever you want. The other games, I would say the order, right? So X whenever you want. Doesn't matter, right? You should probably... Xenoblade Chronicles 1 makes sense to play first, I guess, right? But you could play 2 first, and then 1. 1 or 2, either order, and then you play 3 after that. That's how I would recommend doing it. There is, like, the Torn of the Golden Country DLC, which is a prologue of Xenoblade 2. I played it after. That's how it was initially released, but you could play it before, too. And then there's Future Connected, which is an epilogue inside Xenoblade 1. I would just play that after Xenoblade 1. And then there's also Future Redeemed, which is technically a prologue to Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But the way it's handled, it does kind of feel like something that is a nice send-off for the series. So you could play it before or after 3. So basically, what my recommendation is, we essentially have 3 different expansion campaigns, right? For Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3. Just follow the intended order for that respective game. And so essentially, let's say you play Xenoblade Chronicles 1, right? First, play that, then play Future Connected, the epilogue campaign, and then jump to 2. And you could, if you want, you could do 2 first. You could do Torna before 2 or after 2. Doesn't matter. I mean, it matters technically, but either way, it's fine. And then you play 3, and you can play Future Redeemed. Like, there's some flexibility there, but 1 or 2, then 3. That's pretty much it. It's a lot. But if you play 1 and fall in love with it, then you have so much more to enjoy. Jumpmon asks me, what fighters would you want and not want cut from the next Smash? Okay. What fighters would I want and not want cut from the next Smash? I want none of the fighters to be cut. There's not a single character that I think should be cut. I like the ultimate thing. I think all characters kind of belong. That's where I stand on it, right? But I'll tell you this, if there's a character that's part of the DLC that doesn't make it into the next game that will have me most upset, it would be Pyra and Mythra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. They are my mains. They are my favorite characters in the game. So if they go, I go. I would still get the next Smash Brothers, but I would not be happy if we lost those characters. Praysar, I think that maybe the next Nintendo announcement pattern from Nintendo Switch, 2 games, announcement at Directs, remaster to Switch, just 1 tweet. Huh. Switch 2 games, announcement at Directs, remasters to Switch 1, just 1 tweet. Oh, okay, so I guess what you're saying is they're going to have Directs for Nintendo Switch 2 games, and for Nintendo Switch 1 games, it'll probably be just remasters, and all of those would be done through social media. That would be a way to handle it. I see that. That makes sense. You know, you want to kind of really heavily market your Switch 2 stuff, and maybe like if there's any enhancements, you can still sort of include, like, say for example, Xenoblade Chronicles X does have a Switch 2 enhancement. They can still put that in a Direct. Like, hey, if you want this remaster, you can play it with better visuals on Switch 2. Like, I could see something like that. Yeah, I think that would really cement the thinking that like the June Direct was like the last big Direct for Switch 1, and after that it's really just Switch 2 stuff. And also could be another explanation as to why we haven't gotten another Direct, because they want that messaging to be really clear. You could be onto something there. Let's see. Joycey J with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Joycey J. Wind Waker Twilight Princess? ? Think we're still waiting, or will they eventually drop on NSO? I don't think we'll be so excited if they're not remastered, remade. Thoughts, and happy birthday again. Thank you for the wishes. You know, it's interesting, right? Now that we've gone Xenoblade Chronicles X, like all of a sudden it feels like there's more optimism for more Nintendo remasters. You know, like it does feel like Nintendo could just randomly announce those on Twitter, right? Especially if, to Praysar's point, like how things start to go from now is what they do. Nintendo Directs include Switch 2 announcements, but on social media, it's Switch 1 announcements. I could see a Wind Waker Twilight Princess just being something we see on Twitter one day, and they're like, "Hey, it comes out in a few weeks or something." Like I could see that, and it comes to just one, but through backwards compatibility, you can still play it on Switch 2. I think it's kind of hard to pinpoint when that comes out, right? Like, we did just get Echoes of Wisdom. It's not like we're Zelda starved right now. There are other franchises that need some love. So, you know, I look at Metroid, I look at Donkey Kong, heck, even Kirby. You know, we might need some more Kirby, right? And something new. I've seen a lot of people mention Kid Icarus Uprising. It's possible that Nate the Hate may have provided a hint for us in terms of what could be the 3DS remaster that was reported by Brazil, because he did mention that this is a name that's been brought up several times throughout this year in different ways. Kid Icarus has been discussed a lot. Sakura has brought up 3 different times at least. We've seen it speculated with the Bandai Namco job listings, although it wasn't always Kid Icarus considered. There was some other ideas like Star Fox. Kid Icarus is a very widely discussed possible 3DS remaster, so he might have been hinting at that. I don't know if there's any other 3DS games that we've been talking about a lot over the last year that would make sense to be remastered. Kid Icarus makes the most sense to me, but maybe he meant Samus Returns. Maybe they just want to have a whole year of Metroid where it's just Metroid games galore. I'd argue you want to space things like that out, so I'm gonna say no to Samus Returns getting remastered. Kid Icarus seems way more likely. I mean, Sakurai's been campaigning for it, so I would say if that 3DS like remaster report is true, I would say Kid Icarus is their best bet, which is really exciting to think about. Could it be something else? Like, we already got Metopia, but we still haven't gotten this remaster would probably sell a lot. It's not Metopia, it's the Tamagotchi Life. I don't know if that's been something that's been discussed in various ways throughout the year, but it is something that probably would sell a lot. That would be a casual thing, and that could be something they could put out in February that would really help their sales. So there could be something there. Although I'm definitely pulling for Kid Icarus. And by the way, these remasters don't necessarily have to come out this fiscal year. They can come out later into 2025 or even beyond. Nishwick Pops with a super chat as well. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Xenoblade X is finally here. We've waited so long for this moment. Xenosaga and Twilight Princess Wind Waker are next. Also, happy birthday. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Yeah, TP and Wind Waker. Yeah, we've been talking about it. Joyce CJ was just bringing them up. Xenosaga, though. Xenosaga, I've warmed up to the idea of that one. So I'm very curious to see that. We're just getting Xenoblade X now, but once we get all the Xenoblade games out on a modern platform, where do you go from there? Although I don't know if Monolith Soft would be directly responsible for a Xenosaga remake / remaster. But I do feel like it's happening. And the J2 Brothership with another super chat. Thank you for the super chat. You guys are paying for my dinner here. Thank you. Happy birthday, Andres. Let this man have cake. Cake. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Now I want cake. Chocolate cake. Double, triple, quadruple fudge. I'm fat. Anyway, Link exists with a super chat as well. Thank you. Happy birthday with more cake. Chocolate cake. Give me a Switch 2 Hopium, bro. All right, Link exists. I'll give you some Hopium. I still think we're getting Switch 2 news for the shareholders meeting. It may not be a full-on reveal. It's not out of the question yet. We still have the Dr. Sircon Toto tweet, right? The Toto tweet still exists. It's still there. There's still a history of it amounting to some kind of an announcement. It may not be an announcement we quite expect. It may not happen in the form we want. But I still think Switch 2 news is around the corner. So basically, maybe it's not a full-on reveal trailer, but might still be something. That plus some Nintendo announcements might carry us into early next year. We'll have the Game Awards in December, and before you know it, it'll be time for the actual reveal early next year. Like we could be there, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Tall Show. Do you think there will be a collector's edition or any amiibo with Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition? I don't want to say no, right? Like, there's still room for an announcement like that later on. But I do got to say that the way it's presented, I kind of do feel like I don't want to take away from the hype of Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, right? Because I'm very excited about it. But I do have the sense that there's not as much work going into this game as there was for Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And a big part of that is because there's not as much work that needs to be done, because Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was a Wii game. Xenoblade Chronicles X is a Wii U game. It already basically looks like a Wii U game. You just got to do a little bit more, and they are doing more. Like, there's more work going into this than most remasters, or at least most Wii U ports. That doesn't mean there won't be a collector's edition. There usually is, right? Like, they had it for 3, they had it for 2. Did they have I guess the best question to ask is, was there a collector's edition? Imagine a Skell amiibo, or an Elma amiibo. That would be cool. But I guess what I'm trying to ask here is there going to be was there a collector's edition for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition? Now I'm gonna look that up. Collector's edition. Because I remember for the other two, pretty sure. Edition Xenoblade Chronicles. There was a Monado keychain. Is that it? Was there anything else? Collector's edition. Is there anything? Oh no, it looks like there was. Yeah, there you go. Check this out. This is pretty cool too. I mean, yeah. I mean, so if we've had collector's editions for each Xenoblade, why should they stop at X? My only argument is it feels like they might be not putting in as much work, but that's surface value stuff. I think there's reason to think we should get a collector's edition. Let's see here. Oh, my chat jumped. I'm lost. Sam Talks Games, another super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Happy birthday, Andres. Here's to the next year being a ride. Do you think a June to August Switch 2 release is realistic or is September likely yet? I think my window is between April and September. April at the earliest, September at the latest, in my opinion. As things currently stand. So a June, August, I don't think is a stretch. I hope it's May. But June, August, it's in that window. So I think so. Yeah, I think it is real. It's realistic. But it really just comes down to when they reveal a console. So, and I think perhaps the most exciting thing about the news that I think we'll get by November 5th is just that whatever they say, most likely it'll be something that at least give us a better perspective on timing of when we're going to see this thing. And, I think that's going to ease a lot of people. Like once we have at least a better ballpark for when the console's coming out, there'll be a little bit of a calming in terms of this conversation. It'll be less stressful, I should say. We'll still talk about it. It'll just be less stressful. Joy CJ, but I feel they can get more money off a remastered Twilight Princess Zelda. I agree. Maybe they only give us Wind Waker HD, and then they leave us wondering what happened to Twilight Princess, and then years later, like, oh, Twilight Princess remake, right? Like maybe they could do that. That would be just years from now. Brony Prony Productions asked me, do you think that Sakurai is working on a new game, kills any hope for a Smash Ultimate port, and we're instead getting a new Smash game with a drastically cut down roster? God, I hope not. We don't even know if the product is another Smash Brothers. I think there's a great chance that they are working on Smash Brothers. And I mean, I just think that they shouldn't reduce the roster. I don't think they should do that. So my stance is they're probably, whatever it is, if Sakurai is involved heavily or just slightly, I would say that they're just kind of stacking on top of Smash Ultimate. That's what I want them to do. I don't want to lose any of that content. I just want them to build on top of it. Give us a few more characters, a few more stages. Give us Target Break. Give us a new quirky mode we never heard of before, right? And give us actually a good single player. Like, focus on that stuff since you already have the roster. You could expand the roster, but you don't have to greatly expand the roster. That plus, better online 4K visuals. I think many people will be pretty happy with that. Or maybe I'm wrong. And then you do DLC. You keep the DLC going. Fighters Pass forever. Probably not forever, but for a while. Pokerex here asks, if Switch 2 doesn't release until fall 2025, do you believe that Switch will become the best-selling console of all time, According to Nintendo, by March 2025, they'll have sold 154.3 million units. So I'm not sure they're going to hit their target of 154 million, if that's the number. I know it's probably close to that. If it's something, yeah, that it seems to add up, right? I don't think they're gonna hit that goal. But despite that, I still think that the Switch is going to become the best-selling console of all time, because not only do I think that they're going to already be close before Switch 2 comes out, they're going to announce a price drop for the Switch 1. The sales will see an uptick because of that price drop. And while numbers are going to be greatly reduced, they're going to be so close that within a couple of years, they will surely pass the PlayStation 2 and become the best-selling console of all time. And I think they're going to still sell Switch for another couple of years with a lower price, which they still haven't done. They still haven't lowered the price. Like, so this idea that it's even up for, I don't even think it's up for debate, to be honest with you. And I don't think waiting for Switch 2 is going to at all make a difference. I think it's already written. It's going to happen. Once, like, Nintendo still hasn't done the price drop. And I also don't think Nintendo cares to wait to release Switch 2 just to make sure they pass PS2. Like, I don't think that's at all part of their thinking. Maximizing sales and long-term success, yes. How do they go about doing that? That's a whole other debate. But I don't think they're waiting. And I'm not saying that's what you're suggesting, right? But there are people who think that Nintendo was waiting just so Switch can pass PS2. But like they could have announced Switch 2 a while back, and I still think Switch would eventually pass PS2. I think it's pretty much a given. Just eventually do a price drop, keep the games coming, sell the Switch for a couple more years, maybe announce another smaller, cheaper version like they did the new 2DS when Switch came out back in 2017, and it's guaranteed. Yep. All right. Let's see here. I'm catching up to the chat. Connor asked me, I forgot to say, but this next week on Sunday is going to be daylight savings time. So what time are you going to do your live streams on Tuesday? That's a good question. I was probably still going to do 8:30 EST. But I don't know. I might switch to an earlier time. So maybe I'll put a poll up and see what you guys have to say in a couple days. Because I think I'm trying to transition to uploading videos a little bit earlier into the day, and so if I start doing that, that leaves me more room to stream a little bit earlier in the evening, and I could maybe even stream a little bit longer too, right? To kind of hit a little bit of different time windows. I might even experiment with trying to stream more times in the week and just do different times to. I guess we'll hit different audiences, reach different people, because everyone lives in different time zones. Link exists. From fall 2024 to fall 2025 worse makes you wonder what the hell went wrong. Right? Link in terms of Switch 2 release. But, I mean, that's another reason why I don't think we're waiting that long for the holiday. I know a lot of people feel like it's a safe... And maybe it is a safe expectation, but I don't think we're waiting as long as fall 2025. That's just what some people think, but I don't think we have any evidence for that. It's just that's just what some people think. I mean, maybe, but what's the reasoning behind it? Just to wait longer? The question mark man. Hey Andre, what do you want for the design of the Switch 2? For example, like faceplates for Switch 2 dock or custom Joy-Cons? What I want them colored buttons. I want the colored buttons. I don't care for faceplates. I mean, if you want to have a dock with faceplates, that would be cool. I wouldn't mind if the dock had like some LED lights or something in the front. That would be neat. Beyond that, I don't really have. I mean, I feel like that's a decent. The LED lights would probably be cool. Plus the colored buttons. And I mean, from what we've heard of the leaks, right? Like the dock would be rounder, the Joy-Cons would be rounder. Like it's gonna have a little bit more of a rounder feel to it, which might be smooth. Might look cool. Might look sleek in a kind of different way. Ronnie Fazio, Yakuza rep. Now that would be very surprising, but very cool for Smash Bros. That makes sense. Created. Andres, man, I've been waiting for this port for over 8 years. I'm so happy it's happening, right? It's finally happening. Brony Productions. Do you think Switch 2 will be as successful, more successful than Switch 1? Probably less successful. I'm always gonna be. I think that's the jury's still out, right? Like we'll see, you know. But I think I guess one interesting thing is the longer Nintendo waits, the more tired we are going to be of Switch 1. So that initial Switch 2 boost is going to excite a lot of people. But I also have to wonder how third parties are going to feel by Nintendo taking so long for Switch 2. Now, again, like I don't want this conversation to sound like doom and gloom because like Switch 2 may end up coming out in May, which is like basically March. It's by the difference of 2 months, in which case I don't think it really makes a difference. But if we start talking about like holiday 2025, like, you know, again, not that much of a difference. But I would not be a fan of Nintendo taking that long. 8.5 years, more than 8.5 years between console generations would just be insane. But we'll see what Nintendo does. Link Exists asks, do you think Nintendo will make the Switch to $400 or $450? At least $400. 400 seems like a sweet spot to me. 450 seems a bit much. Ronnie Fazio, did you hear the news that no one cares about Banjo-Kazooie, at least according to Xbox? Yeah, that's wrong. That just kind of shows like a poor understanding of the IP. Now, you know, if Banjo-Kazooie were... I do agree that if they put Banjo-Kazooie on Xbox, it probably won't sell well. They don't have the right audience for it. But on Nintendo, it would sell well. Yep. All right, I'm going to start wrapping things up here, guys. I appreciate all of the birthday wishes. I'm going to take a few more questions, so if you want to try and spit some more out at me in the next 5 minutes, that's cool. But I'm wrapping things up. Brony Productions, do you think Switch 2 will have achievements, themes, and integrated voice chats as well as dealing people like on Xbox? I think there will at least be themes and integrated voice chat. I'm undecided on DMing and achievements. I think there will be an invite feature. I don't know if you'll be able to message people, like texting wise. But I think there will at least be voice chat once you're in the lobbies together. If you're friends, and I think there will be themes. Link Exists. What are some other third-party characters you'd like to see in the next Smash? I'm on board with Leon Kennedy. Would be amazing. I'm open to a Monster Hunter rep. We got you know, the Rathalos as a boss. I think we could get an actual character, and I think you look at like what they did in Monster Hunter Rise with the wire bug. Like they could create a really cool moveset with that. So that's a third party character. I think Doom Guy or Master Chief are great options. Hold on. Oh, I got ideas, but hold on. I'm trying to check something here real quick. Yeah, so they're working on a new Perfect Dark. Like, it's an unpop. It's not a very known series, but like, I would love to see Joanna Dark. That'd be cool, especially with the Nintendo history. That would be awesome. They'll probably go for something bigger, something more pop. So I think Joanna Dark would be unlikely, but it would be cool. Lara Croft, though, that's a pretty popular third-party character that I think would be interesting. I guess where I'm a little like hesitant with when we start talking about like humanoid characters that are very realistic is like how fun would they be, you know? Like how creative could they be with their movesets, and would it feel basic? Like I could see Lara Croft definitely having a bow, but I don't know. Like I know they can create a good moveset. I'm just not sure that's the direction they would go. Akira Howard from Astral Chain. That's it's given that it's a Nintendo exclusive series, that one I think would do extremely well. Yeah, Joycey, Bayonetta did well, but Bayonetta also has magical witch powers, right? Like and she can summon hair demons. Like she can create, like she has that. I haven't played too many Tomb Raider games, so maybe I'm a bit off, but I guess I just don't know too much about Lara Croft's abilities. So I can't imagine how interesting of a moveset she could have. But in terms of like just notoriety, from that perspective alone, she makes a lot of sense. Let's see here. I got another super chat from Brodels. Thank you for the super chat. This is not financial advice, but Nintendo NTDOY is a great company for long-term investors to buy today. It's currently undervalued and has great upside over the next 5 years. Also, happy birthday. Thank you for the not financial advice and the birthday wishes. I do think Nintendo stock's going to go up over time. Like you look at the movies, you look at the museum, the Universal Parks. Switch 2 is going to be a big success. I did say that Switch 2 is likely not going to be as successful as Switch 1, but I don't think it's going to be way behind either. And when you account for, Switch 1 is still going to be relevant for some time to come. And then, we're also, like everything else I mentioned, like Nintendo's going to expand. And, because of that expansion, there is a possibility that Switch 2 does surpass Switch 1 because the popularity of the brand just continues to grow. And with Xbox, kind of falling out of sorts, like, and if Nintendo does something in terms of like having better online messaging features and voice chat and things like that, like there may be a lot, and also just more power, enough power to get third-party games running well. A lot of people who buy on Xbox and PlayStation may just opt to get a Switch 2 where you can play games both docked mode, like home console, or portably. So Nintendo has a huge opportunity. And there is a window for Nintendo to find. They could do it. Like there is a possibility that they could beat Switch 1. I think it's uphill battle. But if they can obtain another part of, like, I guess, the market share, right, from the PlayStation and Xbox players, and plus just the overall expansion of the brand because of the movies and merchandising and parks and all that, it could happen. Let's see here. Attack the Backlog has gifted a membership. Thank you for doing that. The Tall Show has been awarded such a membership. Great. Very good. Let's see. Let me take Iron Templar Atomy. Could a GTA Chinatown Wars remastered for the Switch sell better than the DS version? How much did that version sell? I feel like it did not sell well. Oh my gosh. Oh, actually, not that bad. 1.3 million. Back then, that wasn't pretty good. I don't know. I feel like something like that. I mean, the Grand Theft Auto brand is so good, but this isn't like the Grand Theft Auto that people, it's a very different style of Grand Theft Auto. So I would lean towards saying no. It would not sell better on Switch just because of timing and expectations. Yeah. All right, Link exists. Hatsby, you were so right. I really want to play Resident Evil and Final Fantasy remakes with maybe Black Ops 6 on Switch too. That would Black Ops 6 could really do well on the console. I really think that. Plus Monkey. People don't understand that most people who own a Switch now, 90% are going to upgrade of the people who are already owning, and also the new people who not really got into the first gen. Yeah, there are people who never got into a Switch, but on Switch 2, they might buy in. That's true. Also, there's always more kids. The younger generation continues to grow. Yeah, Link exists. Grand Theft Auto 6 on Switch 2 would be insane. A lot of people doubt it would happen, but we'll see. Pokérex. All right, this is the last one for the night. I do think Nintendo, with the next Metroid Prime 4 Beyond trailer, will announce a port, not a remaster of Metroid Prime 2+3, available after the presentation, maybe for a February Direct. I'm a little bit more optimistic lately that Prime 2 and 3 will not just be ports. We'll see, though. And, I'll also just address Shub in the chat asking, what do you think of Piero's eye emojis? We talked about it earlier. They were teasing Xenoblade Chronicles X, but there is a little bit of something else. So we'll see what that is. Also, Sketches of Harmony, I have not played Chibi Robo, but I'd like to, though. So hopefully I put that on a Switch or Switch 2 sometime soon. Yeah, anyways, thank you, everyone, for coming to my birthday stream. I'll try to stream again soon. Man, you guys keep coming in. I feel bad for, stopping. Shout out to Brony Pony with the super chat. GameCube on NSO for Nintendo Switch 2 and for a higher tier or EP. What does EP mean? I'm not sure, but my brain is falling flat now. I'm reaching my limit. But yeah, I would say GameCube is coming to NSO. There's some smoke for it. It just hasn't been announced yet. So I would do that. Yeah, I would do that. And then Solid Python here says they need to be careful that if they overdo, we got to be safe and keep delaying shtick, thinking only about themselves. And then I can imagine third parties getting extremely annoyed with Nintendo. That is, I think that there is a lot of third parties getting restless, right? And that's what we hear from insiders. I think most insiders hear from third party companies and not directly from Nintendo. And I think that's also why sometimes the messaging seems off, because Nintendo only says so much, they can then change their plans. But anyways, that is all for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.